They say basketball is the most overcoached and undertaught game there is.
And last week, we did an episode talking about the 5 coaching archetypes. And most people in the comments said they identified as one of the 5, and they said they identified as the teacher. So where's the disconnect? Today, we're going to share 3 ways you can actually become a master teacher of the game. Because most coaches don't lack basketball knowledge, they lack the ability to teach. The biggest gap that we see in teams that we work with both in person and online is just a lack of transfer from practice to games. And if that's your team, make sure you stick around because we're going to share an easy 3-step framework that can help you close that gap by becoming a better teacher.
And as we work through these 3 points, if you're realizing that you're not actually the teacher that you thought you were, we developed a great tool, which is inside our free coaching community called SAVI Coaching. Hop in there and take the quiz for yourself and find out which personality type you are as a coach. Welcome to The Hours. This is a podcast for coaches at all levels who want to think, teach, and lead better. I'm Mark Cassio, joined by Tyler Costin, and we call this The Hours because this is where we get to deep dive and have real conversations and spend real time on the things that actually matter. You can get the show notes and tools from today's episode in our weekly newsletter, so check out the link below. Let's get into this week's episode.
The coaches that I gravitate towards the most are great teachers. I could listen or watch a great teacher teach anything, even things that I don't agree with. I remember Molly Miller's one. I remember Molly Miller teaching her team defense. And they were doing a scheme that I didn't actually agree with, but I was enthralled because of the energy and the personality and the connection and just the belief and the camaraderie that she was developing through teaching. I'm like, I learn more from teaching than I even do the content of the teaching.
Yeah, I'm picturing myself at a coaching clinic, and you see a coach that's just a really good teacher, and you're like, "Huh, should we start running this?" Because it just seems like it's really good and it's going to be really good. And I think most coaches that I talk to, in fact, I've been on the phone with tons of coaches this week, and all of them have vast basketball knowledge. I think what separates the best coaches is their ability to teach. There's a difference between coaching basketball and teaching basketball. And if you are a great teacher of the game, it is a coaching superpower. And I, like you, am drawn to the coaches that are the best teachers because it's easier for me to learn what they're teaching, right? And develop new ideas and then make them my own.
Okay, 3 qualities of a great teacher, then I'll have you rank these in order of how you value them 1 to 3. So here are 3 qualities that I see in great teachers. 1, they're just an expert communicator. Their vocabulary, their cadence, their clarity, their simplicity, their timeliness, how concise they are. The second aspect I'm gonna throw out with being a great teacher is going to be, for lack of a better term, I'll use methodology. And that is understanding the tools or the methods by which you can relay information and helps to transfer that information to application. So there are so many different teaching methods, like the questioning method, like the games approach. These are all methods, right? Super modeling. These are all methods that you can use to teach progressions. And there's lots of great teaching methodology out there in the education world, whereas most coaches really don't have a wide array of tools in their teaching methodology. They just do the same thing over and over, and their answer is like harder and more, as opposed to I'm going to use a different tool. So I'm going to say an array of teaching methods would be the second one. For the third one, I'm going to say adaptability. I think a great teacher will adapt the lesson, the information, the system to the learner. They, as opposed to force the learner to adapt, they're going to adapt to the learner. They're very specific. And, I've seen that through great teachers in the business world. I got to spend a little time with Alex Hermosi. Here we go. Got to spend a little time with Alex Hermosi. Here's me and one of my business partners, Kyle, hanging out with Alex Hermosi after winning school games. And I was amazed as there were 50 different business owners in the room asking him questions. And he would change how much information he gave the person based on the quality of their question. Like if it was a low quality question which communicated a beginner at stage, he gave them only what they could handle. the next step. And it was very, very definitive. Here's the one thing you should try to do next. But if by the quality of the question, the learner showed that they had walked the path to mastery and they had a lot of knowledge and they were using some jargon, then he would give them a much more complex and principle-based answer that didn't actually tell them what to do, but challenged maybe the way that they were thinking. And so I would call that like adaptability, the ability to meet each learner where they're at based on age, stage, experience, and adapt the lesson. We see this a lot in a camp or a training environment when you move from a young beginner group to working with pros. There's not a lot of teacher coaches that can work with all those different groups. Oh man, I just coach men. Oh, I'm only a girls coach. Oh, I'm a youth coach, right? The ability to adapt. I'm sure you have another one. I can see it in your eyes. How would you rank those three?
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's impossible to rank these 3 because whenever you started talking about communication, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, it's gonna be hard for that not to be number 1." I think I'm gonna go with number 3, though. Like, I think
Mhm.
a hallmark of expertise is to be able to shape the environment that you're in as the
Mhm.
coach, and I'm doing this right now. I'll try something with the team that I'm coaching, I'm like, "Ooh, way over their head," and old me, or maybe the if I wasn't as good of a teacher, what I would do is just yell, scream, like, "Ah, pay attention, you're not listening," and I would have no adjustments. Now, as a better teacher today, it's okay, how do I meet them where they're at? How do I add a constraint? How do I remove something, some type of variable? How do I direct their focus to where just by participating in this game, they're gonna get it, they're gonna get better. So I'll go with that one reluctantly as number 1. I'll go number 2, communication. If I could go back to college, which, oh, sounds terrible, but if I could go back to
I thought
school,
you had fun in college. I thought you took everyone's money in poker.
I did. I had a great time in college. Just going back to school and being a student would be very difficult. Although I do love learning, so maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But if I could pick a major, it would be a communications major or like a sports psychology, something like a psychology degree. Although there's a ton of benefit in having an education degree as well, but I think communication is such an important part of teaching the game and just having very clear terminology, but also being able to communicate in a way that it connects and they can understand. So, third would be the methodology, although, gosh, that is so important too. So, that's like an impossible. I hate that somebody has to be second or third in this one because I think they're all super important.
Then I think there are three good qualities. We did this last week, and I celebrate all of our listeners last week really engaging in the comments. I've enjoyed reading them. Shout out to my friend Lynn Dunn, someone I've looked up to a lot and I've learned from. You're a great teacher, Lynn, a listener who commented, "We're having you on the pod. Mark and I were talking about it. I need to reach out to you. We're having you on the pod." But all of your comments were wonderful last week as you shared which coach personality you thought you were. Please engage in this one again because we all are teachers at some level. Which of these three would you say is your strongest as a teacher coach? Your communication, your teaching methodology, or your adaptability? And I'm going to use the word range here, your range, your ability to adapt and display general knowledge of all different learning types. Now, really impossible. Which of those three do you think you are best at? Or do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, you tell 'em what am I best at in your experience with coaching with me?
In my experience, you are best at I would actually say you're best at your range. I
That's
think
what I was gonna say.
Oh, really? Okay, nice. What am I
Yeah.
best at?
Oof. I'll go with communication.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say range for me because I'm just very comfortable of like, let's just try something, and I'm
Yeah.
confident no matter what happens, I'll have something that'll make it a little better, or make it a little simpler, make it a little clearer, make it better for the players that we just get more done, or we reach the objective, I guess, instead of just like, oh, we just did that for 10 minutes and I don't think we got any better.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, you just said something really valuable that I wanna highlight for so many coaches. Many coaches do lack confidence in their teaching ability, and you just said something, you said, "I'm confident I have something of value." And I would encourage every coach listening, you don't have to believe that you're the best coach on the face of the earth to go into a practice or a clinic or any teaching environment with confidence. All you have to believe, and I would encourage you all to lean into this belief because I believe this about you and everyone that's choosing to serve as a coach. I believe you have something to give. I believe that you have something that can make that group better. I believe it. And the more you believe that about yourself, the more the learners will believe it about you. And belief is key. And so many coaches, and one coach just sent me an email about last week's episode. He said he was just getting into coaching. He thanked us for what we're doing. And he said it's so helpful because I just don't know if I'm going to be good at this. You know, because you're showing up, you have value. You're going to be good at it. So just be confident in that. You don't have to compare yourself to a Greg Popovich or a Coach K or a Don Staley, right? Oh, I'm not as good as them, but you do have something to offer.
By trying it, by teaching your team, you'll learn. And just a quick example of just me, I mean, I learn every time I'm in the gym. We played a game that I actually got from Tyler, and it was 9-7 or 0. And we were obviously working on shot selection. A 9 is a wide open layup, a 7 is a wide open 3-point shot. Traditionally, is how we've used it. I'm using it as just a wide open shot for my team because I'm coaching youth basketball. So we were playing 9-7 or 0. If you didn't take a 9 or a 7, your score got reset to 0. I was looking at this from an offensive standpoint, right? Is we've got to make our shot selection better. We're going to play this game. I'm going to show the range and adaptability and shape the environment. But what I didn't foresee coming is our defense got so much better. We stopped fouling, we stopped reaching. We were actually getting to the wall and playing help defense, and
Because you don't
defense
want to give up
started
nines.
talking
Yeah.
because they didn't want to give up a 9 or a 7, and they were okay with giving up the other stuff, which is what great teachers do, is they direct their focus to the most important principle or the most important concept that we're honing in on. And oftentimes, if you just go in there and try it, if you're lacking confidence, just go try something. And I
Mhm.
guarantee just by playing the game or the drill or whatever activity you do, there's going to be some other takeaway or some added benefit that you're going to learn just by doing it as the teacher.
Okay, three resources for you. One for each of these three qualities of a master teacher. I had the honor of getting to train up teachers for years and years and years in the camp environment with PGC basketball. I got to recruit and train our directors. And when I was doing that, I selected a book. We selected a book every year that was required reading for our directors in the off season. And then we trained them through these books. So these are three books I've actually led teachers, coaches through to develop these three skills. And they're the best that I found. If you have another one that you would like to suggest for these, drop that in the comments as well. I would love to read it. To become a better communicator, the book that I would recommend is Communicating for a Change. That's by Andy Stanley. He's a pastor, but an unbelievable, really applicable book to becoming a clear communicator. We'll put these links actually in the description, the show notes for you as well. And shout out to the authors here. For teaching methodology, I've referenced this one before. It's Practice Perfect by Doug Lemov. A couple of co-authors in there, but Doug is someone that I've actually done a podcast with before as well. I don't know that we've had him on with us, have we,
Mm-mm.
on the
No,
hours?
I'd love to though. He'd
Okay,
be
yeah,
great.
I'll reach out to him. Awesome teacher and has just really applicable short chapters on different teaching methodologies specific for coaches. And then lastly, and it's kind of what compelled me to rename this quality range from adaptability, I think, as I was thinking about it. The book is Range by David Epstein. Full title, Range While Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And it really does just explore this idea, like so many professions reward specialization. What he's suggesting is like the truly special leaders are the ones that are generalists, that are have a wide range and are able to adapt and make connections between different specialized fields. And I think it's just so good for coaches. And there's actually a lot of sport studies and examples in Range by David Epstein. So I would pick one of those and I would go through it. In fact, that's something we should consider doing with our member coaches, Mark. I don't know that we've done that. Is actually do a book study for one of our monthly deep dives. I'd be happy to consider that in the future. So if that's of interest to you as well, drop us a comment. We'd love to do that. We're gonna go rapid fire here. We're gonna go three specific ways you can improve as a teacher beyond these macro skills of communication, teaching methodology, and range or adaptability. I'll introduce these, and Mark, you can speak to them. Number one, become a guide on the side instead of a sage on the stage. This is a misconception of what a teacher is. The all knowing, wise sage that is elevated above the learners that just dictates truth. That approach will actually undermine trust and hurt your ability to actually teach. If teaching isn't displaying your knowledge, teaching is affecting change and transformation in the learners. And a small change in what you see can lead to a big change in what you do. So if you see yourself as a sage, right, that you're going to do sage type things, which will make you a worse teacher. But if you see yourself as a guide on the side, not the hero of the story, but guiding those people shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, co working with your team, you're going to see a whole different way to teach. Anything to add to that one, Mark?
Yeah, 2 E's, I would say environment and experience. So your job, if you're the guide on the side, really the game is gonna be more the teacher instead of you just telling your players what you want them to do and expecting that to just embed the behavior or to add a new skill in because they're hearing you say it. So can you shape the environment to where just by participating in the game that you've shaped, they're going to get better? And then once they go through the experience of the game, can you now add to that? Can you look at what's going on, maybe what's lacking, and make an adjustment from there? So very similar to what we talked about range. I think range comes into play whenever you're using a constraints led approach or a games based approach where players have context that now you might be able to go back and drill down on and just add some teaching, and then they go back to the game and they play it again. And all while you're the guide on the side, you're not telling them, they're actually doing it and you're just guiding them into doing it a little better.
Perfect. Second point, more personal and less team. We're really attacking coaching myths a little bit here. I think one myth is that teaching is nearly always to my whole team. I'm teaching my team a play. I'm teaching my team how to all shoot. I'm teaching my team how to all score. I'm teaching my team how to all play defense. The absolute best teachers, they teach Mark to shoot differently than they teach Tyler to shoot. The best teachers spend more time one on one. They ask Tyler to do different things within the system than they ask Mark to do. They spend more time going deep individually with players as opposed to stopping all activity and talking for a long time to the whole group. The best teachers have way more one-on-one conversations and they teach more personally than they do even on a team. Anything they're communicating to the team is brief and a redirect, whereas the long conversations are one-on-one.
Yeah, really good. That's often when I'm one-on-one conversations where I'm leading with a question of like, "Hey, you seem like you're this," or "What were you thinking when you did this? What did you see when you did that?" And what I've done a lot recently with the team that I'm coaching is I'll just if they get a rep in and like so we were working on footwork the other day, girl didn't do it, kind of missed the mark there, just take her to the side and then we just get one-on-one reps. So now she can like do it wrong. That's the experience. Then we can add some teaching in there, have her do rep, 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 and then you just see the light bulb starting to come on. So I've definitely was guilty of like, coaching the team for a practice, and now I'm seeking one-on-one conversations because that's where you're going to make the most amount of impact.
Powerful. Okay, the last one for you today, teaching principles as opposed to absolutes. This is really what will unlock transfer of skills and ideas from training or from practice to a game. Is if you can teach them principles instead of absolutes. I'll say one thing, I'll throw it to you, Mark, here to talk about some warnings and what to stay away from. In a practice environment, coaches tend to control the drill to make it the same every time so that the teaching they're giving works. And when you teach in absolutes, always pass to the high post first. Don't shoot until you pass the high post, right? Always open roll off of a ball screen, always, right? Always rim run and seal in the middle of the paint, right? When you teach in absolutes, you can set up drills where those absolutes work every time or happen every time. That doesn't happen in games because it's chaos. It's a wicked environment with so many variables. And the benefit of teaching in principles is a principle can apply across many different situations. Absolutes only work in one. And that's why we encourage you to teach in principles instead of absolutes. And that's what the best teachers do.
Yeah. Uh, you talked about some things to avoid, and you hit on them. Avoid always and nevers. I try my best
Never
to
say never. Okay, wait.
never say never, never say always. But when you're teaching the principle, you're teaching your players how to think, and that's going to be the best way that they learn, and that's what a teacher does. So avoid rules where if there's a common, I'm trying to think of something common happens in basketball. If there's a baseline drive, then you drift to the corner. That's not wrong, but as a player, if I've never heard that before, now I'm trying to memorize, okay, baseline drive, drift to the corner. What if there's a middle drive? Where do I go? And what if there is a lane line drive? Where do I go? They're going to have three different rules for one principle, where the principle is just space, right? The principle might be available to the ball,
Mhm.
right? Get in the headlights or the tail lights of the ball. So if the ball is driven, find space. With the ball, hunt nines. That's Tyler driving baseline. Without the ball, I'm hunting space. That'd be a principle that we use in RDS that, like you said, could apply to any drive that happens with an offense. Is my job is to find space, and that's going to have your players critically think, and then they're actually learning or developing basketball IQ instead of just memorizing a whole bunch of basketball rules. So, as coaches, as you're designing your systems in this off season, start to eliminate as many if then statements as you can and see if you can take five if then statements, dwindle it down to one if then statement that encompasses all those things.
Beautiful. A teacher is one of the personality types that many coaches have and that we reveal through our personality test. Again, head to our completely free Savvy Coach community where you can see all of our courses, and we're going to put that resource in there for you for free. And like we said last week, the absolute best coaches become more well rounded as they develop every of these five coach personalities. But you still got to lean into your strength and come back next week where we're going to be talking more about the guru. But until then, stay savvy.
Stay savvy.